Good evening, our wonderful parents and guardians. We really thank God for the privilege to behold the new year 2024. My prayer for every one of us is that this year will be great indeed for everyone. Now, as we begin the new year charge, looking at the live series, Investing Differently in the New Year, I really want to enjoin, I really want to encourage every one of us to be attentive because like we have always said, at Transcendence Learning Hub, we're not just about the learners alone. We're not just about pruning these children, these kids alone. We're also interested in ensuring that our families, our marriages, we're ensuring that everything that concerns us as a community, as a family, as we come together, everything works for good. And so that's why we'll be looking at this all important teaching, investing differently in the new year. When we hear the word invest, the first thing that comes to our mind is that we're going to put in something and then to get something much more out of it. Listen to me, like I said, when we hear the word invest, nobody is going to think that something lesser should come out of it. Take for instance, someone puts in 10,000 naira into a business, is investing in that business. Now the mindset generally is that something is going to come out of that business which is going to be or produce more than that 10,000 naira that was put into that business. That's what we're talking about. And so when we talk about investing differently in the new year, we're not just talking about putting money in a business. We're not just talking about investing in a business as a man, as a woman, as a father, no, as a mother. No, we are talking generally about investing in our lives in as much as this new year is concerned. But just like the topic said, maybe there's a particular modality, there's a particular pattern we have been following, we have been taking, and no wonder we cannot continue in the same vein and expect to get a different result. Rather, this year we must take a different turn, we must take another step, we must do it differently so that we can achieve greatly. I pray God will help us to achieve that. And so, just like I've explained already, what investment or what investing really means. Now, let's go straightly to this key point as we move on. Now, it is one thing, to have something that you want to invest. It is one thing also for you to invest that thing. Let me bring your mind to a picture. Someone may have 1 million naira in the account and he's very happy that he has that money and he's not going to touch that money, just keeps that money there and he said, I just want to see this money. I'm just happy to know that I have 1 million naira in my account. But you know what? He doesn't invest that money. So it doesn't mean that you need to, that when you have, then you have invested. No, far from it. Someone may have and yet though he won't invest. Someone may have and yet he's not investing, she's not investing. And so we must understand that when you have a piece of land, that when you have some money in your account, that when you have some resources, and it is quite different from you investing that thing. So having those things doesn't really conclude the fact that you have invested. Now, I hope we understand what I have just said. Now, let me paint a broader picture as we look at the following key points. Number one, the complacency that hinders productive investment. The complacency that hinders productive investment. Now, in the past years, there had been this complacency, there had been this, indifference, and there's been this apathy towards the concept of investment. And that's why you see a lot of people, they're not concerned. They have something, rather than put that thing to work, they leave it that way. They say it doesn't matter. They are complacent, they don't care. And then you look at some other people, they're not even concerned about having that thing. They do not have that thing, they do not have anything, and so there's nothing to invest. Now let me draw it back home. Now when we talk about complacency, number one, we look at what we call financial status quo or family background. Someone says, I am poor, and because I am poor, I cannot invest. Since I have nothing, look at my financial status quo, very low. Look at my financial status quo, it's not good enough, it's not matchable. And so what do I invest? What do I put in? Where do I begin from? On the other hand, we see some other people, they look at their financial status quo and they look at their family background. They say, of course, I'm all right. I have so much money. So what do I need to invest for? What do I need to put in more? No, we must understand that these complacencies, this indifference and apathy have made a lot of people to fall headlong in life. Now, let me bring it back home once again. When we look at the lives of our children, for instance, and we say, I do not have money. I do not have money. And so I'm not going to invest in their life. I'm not going to put into their destinies. I'm not going to pay their school fees. I'm not going to train them in schools. I'm not going to take care of them. Let everybody go and look for their own help. Let everybody hustle for themselves. You are complacent, you are indifferent, and you are showing this apathy. You are not going to end well. The situation, the process will not end well. We must understand that. What about the other side now? The man says, I have so much money and I'm not going to invest on anyone. I'm all right. I don't want this money to multiply. I don't want these resources to multiply. I'm just all right. I'm indifferent about multiplying my resources. That man discovers that all of a sudden, a scenario, a situation comes on board and cuts away every resources, and there's nothing to fall back to. So when we talk about investing differently in the new year, we're talking about number one, the complacency that hinders productive investment. There are complacencies here and there. People do not care. People are not moved. People are not concerned. They say it doesn't concern me. They say I don't have. They say leave me alone. They say let me live my life the way I choose. No, it cannot work that way this year. Number two, there's fears and the inability to take risk. Some people say, how do I take this thing that I have and then invest it? Let me be eating it gradually. Let me take it bit by bit. Let me manage it. Some people say, how do you expect me to take the little that I have and then train my child in school? Where will I fall back to? How will he progress? There are fears, there are inability to take risk. Someone once said that the inability to take risk is a risk itself, a very serious risk. We must risk our lives, we must risk our time, we must risk everything riskable, in as much as it is legal and legitimate, to ensure that we invest into our lives, that we invest to the lives of our children, that we invest profitably for our own well-being. Number three, lack of wisdom and frivolities. Some people, when they're not wise, of course, they are foolish. And a foolish man has no plan. A foolish man has no agenda. A foolish man cannot see afar. And so they are complacent. And so they are relaxed. And they say, it doesn't matter. That's what we're talking about. Number four, we have what you call false assertions and wrong insinuations. False assertions and wrong insinuations. See, these people, they are people who say, I hear of some men who say, I'm not going to train my female child, because if I train her, in this 21st century, she's going to get married and then bear her husband's name, and everything I've labored will be in vain. No investment. They leave the children, they leave them to hawk groceries around, and they leave them to move from one place to another, and they send them to go and clean people's houses here and there, and they say, let them live their life the way they like. They are a waste to me. They are nothing to me. You are not investing. The repercussion will be there. It will be terrible. It will be tumultuous. We must understand that. That's why we're saying we must put away those false, those negative assertions, all those wrong notions, wrong ideas within head of people who come to other families and they say, no, don't do this for your son. No, don't do this for your daughter. Don't, if you do this, I'm telling you, and they discourage us and they tell us lies. Why they themselves are investing in their children, they come to us and they present before us wrong notions, wrong ideas, make believe stories, and then we're carried away. We must not allow that in this new year. Point number two, we're looking at the perpetual error that begets little or nothing. In this new year, you will not get little. In this new year, you will not get nothing. By the grace of God, great things are coming your way by the grace of God. The perpetual error that begets little or nothing. What are we talking about? There are people, they say, I've been investing before, I know how to do it. This year we're investing differently. And so what are we talking about? What are the perpetual error? What about the habitual error that they have been into that have brought them little or nothing? This year you cannot continue that way. Number one, trusting in self. Some people trust so much in themselves. Some people believe so much in themselves that they relegate God, and they say it doesn't matter, forget about God. They believe in their wisdom, they believe in their knowledge, they believe in their certificate, they believe in their mastery, in their skills. And when you continue to do that, when you cannot carry people along, when you cannot call upon God, when you cannot trust God, you are going to labor loss. You are going to labor in vain. When you trust in self, perpetual error awaits you. Number two, complete and total loss awaits you. Number two, we have misplaced priority. Misplaced priority. Let me just draw us back home again. See, there are people who Instead of investing in their families, instead of investing in their children, instead of ensuring that they do the little they can do to make things blossom in the nearest future, they begin to have what we call misplaced priority. You can see the man there, the children are not in school, or maybe the children are in school, maybe in Transcendence Learning Hub now, or maybe in other schools now, and then those people are so good and they are nice, and they are not sending those children home now, and they say, children, when are you going to pay your school fees? And they say, my father said next week. Next week never finishes, and that man is saying, oh, wonderful people, they did not drive my child from school, they are wonderful, so I know what I'm going to do now. I'm not going to invest in them. I'm going to take this money that I've been saving, and I'm going to invest in my business. I'm going to invest in my building. I'm going to invest in my landed property. That investment cannot last. That investment cannot go far. You know why? Because you are taking away the essential, and you are laboring on ephemerals. It cannot last. Those buildings, who are going to manage them? Those businesses, who are going to manage them? You leave the humans, you leave the children, you leave the people that God has given to you. You are saying no. You take advantage of the leniency of others. You take advantage of your own gratification, self gratification, and say it doesn't matter. Listen to me, that is misplaced priority. They abandon the essential for ephemerals. Number 3, secrecy and self-will. Some men, some women, they when they want to do some things, they don't tell anyone, especially their wives, especially their families. Rather, you see a man, he will tell his brother, he will tell his old mother in the village, he will tell his sister, he will tell this, he will tell that. They never tell their wife, they never tell their husband, and it is not the best. It will lead us nowhere. We must understand that. We mustn't be too secretive about the investments we have at hand. We must do it together. We must not be self-will. Let me do my own first, then later it's my husband's business. And you know what? That woman goes ahead, building houses here, buying lands everywhere, and saying, I'm investing for my children. And then she's investing, and then the husband is there. She's not carrying the man along. The man doesn't know what is going on. That effort will be wasted. We must be careful. Finally, now we look at the last one. That is in number 4, faulty marriage. Faulty marriage. You see, when a marriage is faulty, when a marriage has cracks, I'm telling you, there will be no good investment. Whatever investment you're putting in, whether you're training the children, whether you're buying lands, whether you're buying cars, whether you're into agriculture, whether you are saving money, whether you're a pawnbroker, it cannot last. When the marriage is faulty, it is an example of a perpetual error that will beget nothing or little, insignificance. Now, what are we talking about? You see, a cracked marriage, and then there is life, no harmony, and then the wife is always being beaten like a bag by the husband, beaten, like a little child by the man, and then the woman, is always abused and insulted, and that man, always makes that woman feels like nothing, and it's after I am helping your life, I picked you from the gutters, and then that woman now, maybe she doesn't respect the husband, she's not submissive to the husband, and then she goes about telling people, I am the head, I am the one that does this, I'm the one that does that, God has blessed me more than my husband. You're a foolish woman. You cannot go far. It's a faulty marriage. No matter what you do in life, no matter how you support the family, it is not acceptable before God. It cannot go far. We must know that. Point number 3, before we wrap up, we're looking at the last point, the decision to invest differently for plethora of abundance. The decision to invest differently for plethora of abundance. We must make that decision now. It must be fast. Now let's come back to the issue of family life. Now you see, if we must make decisions as families, if we must make decisions as husbands and as wives in this new year 2024 that will eventually stand the test of time, a different decision, a different kind of investment in a different way, differently, I'm telling you, with God it will yield result. Now, why did God make marriage in the first place? Let me just look at 5 points. Number 1, for purity. Number 2, for pleasure. Number 3, for procreation. Number 4, for protection. Number 5, for productivity. Number 1, God expects our marriages to be pure, and that's why one man, one wife, of as the case may be. God made one man, one wife, and God said declare that these two should become one. In that case, you have no business with another woman. And especially for those of us who claim we have one and then we leave that one and we keep on jumping secretly to another, or a woman who says she has one and then if not remaining with that one, she keep on selling her body to other men secretly. No, we're not living right. There's no purity, and when there's no purity in the marriage, investments will fail. Number two, pleasure. Marriage is for pleasure, and so when we're investing for the pleasure of the family. Not that one person will benefit alone, not that this other party will be frustrated. Everyone must benefit for pleasure, for joy, for happiness. And then number three, for procreation. Why are we investing? We're investing so that that the children whom God has given to us can benefit. We're investing in the marriage for procreation. Marriage was made for procreation rather. And so these children who have come, who are the fruits of the marriage, they must, we must invest in them. We must invest in their lives. We must invest in their education. We must put our all. I don't want to tell stories. Those days, my mom will run left and right, ensuring that all is possible, even when we had lost our father, to ensure that we get to school. What are we talking about? We must make these children a priority. We must invest in their life. Don't have money and keep it and use it for ashwebi. Don't have money and keep it and use it to buy cement. All those things will fail if you do not invest in their children. Number four, for protection. Why are we investing? We're investing as a family because we want the family to be protected. We don't want any mayhem. Someone coming from nowhere to say, this one happened, that one happened, and so you are not the owner of this one. This one belongs to your father's brother. This one belongs to your sister's brother. This one, you see, and they put the family to danger. And then scavengers, they come in, they devour the family, they devour the home they said the family have laid. No, why are we investing finally? For productivity. We invest in the family first, so that we can produce massively, so that we can have enough and even more than enough to make ends meet, and then even to give out and even to do more. We must understand all of this, and that's why we must avoid all the errors, we must avoid all the complacencies, and begin to take definite decisions to invest differently in this new year. I always love you. I appreciate you for your support, for your cooperation, and I want to assure you that God's sparing our lives, God will grant us great testimonies on every side in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. I want to wish you a happy new year 2024. God bless you. Amen.